Hey, what's up, guys? It's Brando here at the Blue Devil Den. We're going to do our third installment of our Bracketology, this one specifically being the Bracketology 3.0. Taking a look real quick here in the Midwest region, we have number 1 Alabama going up 16 Southern. Alabama going to have no trouble beating Southern in this one. 8 St. Mary's at 9 New Mexico. I like the Gales in this one, though I do think New Mexico Lobos would give them a little bit of a problem. But we'll see. If there's going to be an upset in this region so far, definitely watch out for New Mexico taking St. Mary's. But I have the Gales winning this one. 5 Marquette at 12 George Mason. Marquette, I think, is completely underrated. I know that they've had a couple losses recently, but watch out. I mean, this could be their year where they go to an Elite Eight, maybe even a Final Four if things go right and they fall perfectly for the Marquette Golden Eagles. 4 Kansas at 13 Arkansas State. I think Kansas, even though they've had a tough season so far, up to Kansas standards at least, let's say that, they're going to have no issues beating the Red Wolves in this scenario. 6 Illinois at 11 Vanderbilt. Illinois is a great team. I've seen a couple of their games this year since I'm a Big Ten guy. Watch out for Vanderbilt out of the SEC. SEC is a great conference this year, but I think Illinois is going to get it done in this one. 3 Iowa State at 14 Northern Colorado. Iowa State, they've had their struggles in the past in March, let's be honest. But this is not those same type of Iowa State teams. They've had some great wins on the road in the Big 12 this year. They have a great squad, let's be honest. They have a really, really great squad. I think this could be one of the years where they actually go pretty deep in the tournament and don't get an easy out. Number 7, Mississippi State at 10, Utah State. Guys, I have not watched either one of these teams, so I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not 100% for sure who I'd pick. But let's go ahead and pick the upset here. We're going to go ahead and say 10 Utah State. The Aggies get it done in Milwaukee, beating Mississippi State, our first upset of the tournament. Number 2, Purdue at 15 Cleveland State. I really, really like Purdue, guys. They're going underrated in the Big Ten right now, though they're easily one of the top 10, 15 teams in the country. A lot of people don't really know about it because I just think they're going under the radar. But guys, they did really good this last season. Expect them to go deep in the tournament this year. Some people might decide that, hey, maybe they'll be upset in one of the earlier rounds. I am not one of those people. I got Purdue going pretty far. In fact, if I was going to pick a team to win this region, I'm just going to go ahead and say Purdue outright. A lot of people, I think, are genuinely sleepwalking on these guys, but watch out for the Boilermakers to get it done in the Midwest region in this scenario. All right, guys, moving right along over here to the West region. Number 1, Tennessee up against number 16, Bryant. Tennessee destroys Bryant in this one. Let's be real here, guys. 8, Gonzaga against 9, Ohio State. This would be a fun matchup. And my first matchup that we're covering so far in this Bracketology assessment, I think 9 Ohio State beats Gonzaga. Gonzaga loses in the first round in this one. Gonzaga having a really tough year themselves by their standards, but I've seen Ohio State play a few games. That is a tough squad, and when they get on and they're on fire, watch out because they could go deep in this tournament. Then we have number 5, Ole Miss at 12, McNeese. Ole Miss is going to beat McNeese. Let's be real, guys. Oh, my goodness. Ole Miss, SEC team. SEC looking really good so far in all kinds of basketball games that they've been playing in. Look at their conference in itself. I'm not an SEC guy, but genuinely, the SEC conference is doing fantastic this year, rightfully so. Look at the SEC ACC challenge. That speaks for itself. 4, Wisconsin at 13. Akron, Wisconsin, kind of going under the radar in the Big Ten. The second team I've said about that, Purdue and now Wisconsin. Wisconsin shouldn't have no problem beating Akron from Ohio. Number 6, UCLA, and 11, Drake. You never know. I have not watched Drake, but I've seen UCLA. They've been kind of up and down, though they've had a lot of injury issues this year. I'm going to go ahead and say Drake gets an upset here. We're going to have the 11 seed over 6 UCLA in Denver. First upset in this region here. 3 Arizona at 14 Utah Valley. You see on this marking here that Arizona's moving up in the seedings, rightfully so. We watched their game the other night with Texas Tech and Arizona, and even though they were kind of sloppy with the ball, I'll be honest, they were a little sloppy with the ball. Their offense was lights out. They were hitting shots left and right and really, really stifling a really tough Texas Tech team. And they had answers for them every which way. 7, Clemson at 10, Oklahoma. I would have to go ahead and say Clemson, guys. They're on fire right now. You see them moving up as well with recent wins over Duke. My Duke team, goodness gracious. Tough game there for Duke on the road. Really, really crazy environment. Clemson gets it done here against 10 Oklahoma. 2 Texas A&M at 15 Norfolk State. I would have to go and say the Aggies. I'd have to go say the Aggies. I've not seen one of their games yet this year. We're going to make it happen on one of these future live streams because I want to see more about them. But if they're considered for a 2 seed, we definitely need to check these guys out. Right now, though, my pick for this region is going to have to be Tennessee. We've seen one of their games really in dominant fashion, just taking care of business at home the other day against Florida. This is a strong SEC team. Watch out, because this team could go extremely deep in the tournament. And then moving right along here, we're already going into the South region. We have number 1 Auburn at 16, Little Rock or American. Auburn's going to get it done. They're the number 1 team in the country for a reason. Just incredible on the offense and defensive side of the ball. Their efficiency is incredible. 8 Oregon at 9 Baylor. Probably my second favorite matchup so far. I'm really loving these 8-9 matchups. If I had to pick, though, I would gonna go ahead and say Baylor actually beats Oregon with a small upset here in this specific matchup. Baylor kind of hit or miss this year. They've been kind of up and down, but they have some solid players. They have a good 5 with a little bit of a rotation, not a deep rotation. But Oregon struggling here on the back half of their season with multiple losses at this point in time. So Baylor gets it done. Number 5 Memphis at 12 UC Irvine. I don't know much about either one of these teams, so we're going to have to watch a Memphis game before we really get into March Madness, just to kind of see what they're about. Could be an upset here, but I'm going to go ahead and say Memphis gets it done. 4 St. John's at High Point. We did live stream between St. John's and UConn, and what a game that was to go live for. Rick Pitino's squad doing a great job this season, getting it done. Everywhere he goes, they find success. So St. John's is going to get it done here against High Point, and St. John's could make a really deep run, guys. That's going to be a fun team to watch in March. 6 Creighton and 11 Georgia or San Diego State. Creighton started a little bit rocky, guys, but Creighton, I think, can get it done here. Georgia, probably not the greatest SEC team, but they were probably middle of the road, which is slightly above average in most conferences. But Creighton, out in their own right, is a very solid team. Creighton's going to win this one. 3 Michigan State at Lipscomb. Tom Izzo's squad's been doing some great things this year. They've just suffered a recent loss in conference play, but I'm going to say Michigan State gets this one done. 7 Missouri at 10 Nebraska. Guys, Nebraska just came off that heartbreaking loss to Maryland. Maryland squad looks really good, but Nebraska, don't count them out of the tournament yet. They're fighting for their survival in this thing. I'm going to go ahead and say Nebraska does get it done here in a neutral site game against Missouri. The fans will travel well. 2 Houston and Central Connecticut. Going to easily pick Houston here. Obviously the better squad. We're looking forward to going live for a Houston game. If I'm going to go ahead and pick a team to win in the South region, I'm gonna mix it up a little bit. I'm going to actually say that Houston is going to go farther in this tournament than they ever have before. Houston is going to get it done and makes it to the Final Four from the South region. But watch out for teams like Auburn. Another one maybe to watch out for is St. John's. It's kind of a dark horse. Those would be some of my picks that I would look at in this region. And finally, our last and favorite region, because it's got Duke in there, right? This is the East region, guys. I got Duke at number 1 against 16 Merrimack or Omaha. You know, I'm a Nebraska guy, so I might lean a little bit towards Omaha. Psych, go Duke Blue Devils. They're going to go deep in this tournament with a strong offensive team, a strong defensive team, and very efficient on the boards. Just a really deep Duke team. This one could actually get it done. We also have 8 UConn against 9 West Virginia. UConn, we watched them the other night. What a game they had. UConn is a great team. Danny Hurley is obviously a great coach. Haven't seen West Virginia play yet, so we'll have to watch them as well. I've heard some good things about them. UConn is not going to win this tournament this year, guys. They're not going to three-peat, but UConn does get this first one against West Virginia. 5 Michigan at 12 Yale. I'm going to go and say the Wolverines destroy Yale. This Michigan Wolverines team is so good. They got Dusty May as their coach. You might remember him from Florida Atlantic and that deep run that they had a few years ago. Well, this guy's the real deal. Michigan Wolverines might go really deep in this tournament, and that's a team to watch that you definitely don't want to play if you're the opposing team. Number 4, Kentucky at 13 Samford. Kentucky kind of up and down. You know, I'm going to go ahead and say they get it done in this one against Samford, but watch out for an upset here early on. I believe it's the Samford Bulldogs against the Kentucky Wildcats. 6 Maryland against Wake Forest or BYU at the 11th seed. We just watched Maryland beat my Nebraska Cornhuskers. What a great game that was. When that team gets hitting on all cylinders, that's a great starting 5. They're really the flagship program for Under Armour, so that looks like a highly paid starting 5 there for the Under Armour squad, the Maryland Terrapins. Derek Queen, great guy. He is fantastic all over the floor, can dribble behind the back, and he is a big guy. So, got to watch out for that Maryland team. They could make a nice little run. This looks like a really tough side of the bracket. Not the type of region you guys are going to want to be in on this east side. Maryland gets it done, no problem against whoever they're playing in Wake Forest or BYU. Texas Tech at 3 against Jacksonville State. Texas Tech plays a little sloppy, really similar to Arizona in the aspect. We watched Texas Tech and Arizona the other night. I'm going to say Texas Tech gets it done. They got a great squad. They'll get it done in this one. 7 Louisville against 10 Texas. We'll go ahead and say Texas gets a small upset here over Louisville. They're starting to kind of hit their stride, Louisville is. But Texas kind of the outside looking in right now. They really got to get a couple more wins to officially be in the tournament, but I got Texas winning this one. Then lastly here, we have two Florida at 15,000. Florida Gators ranked number 3 right now. Been a great season for Florida overall. It's nice seeing them kind of get towards the top of college basketball again, but they're very offensively powered, offensively minded team. But don't get it twisted. They do have a solid defense when need be. Now, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and easily pick Florida to win this one. But if I'm going to go ahead and pick this last region here, who's going to go to the Final Four, I have got to go with my hometown team, the Duke Blue Devils. They just are so strong offensively, defensively. They're so deep, very talented roster. Got to get the Blue Devils here as my last pick in the Final Four, guys.